Hello everybody, Justin from Playing Board Games here, and today I have a list video which are the 5 Feast of Hemlock Vale cards that I am most excited for. Over the last few days on the channel, I've been looking at all the new cards, talking about them, and trust me, there is actually a lot more content coming out about these cards, talking about these cards, evaluating these cards. But right now, we're going to be throwing all evaluation on if this card is good or if this card is bad out the window. And today, all we're talking about is the 5 cards that I am most excited to play in the Feast of Hemlock Vale, and maybe some homes where I want to play those cards. So, my chair is really creaky. Why don't we dive in, get this show on the road, and start with our first card, which is Cat Mask. So, this mask cycle within Hemlock Vale is a pretty powerful cycle where it's just a bunch of 1-cost items that you can use for stat boosts. So the Cat Mask in particular is a 1-cost asset. Item, Charm, and Mask. Limit 1 mask per investigator. Uses 2 offerings. Replenish 2 of these offerings after Doom is placed on a card with no Doom. And as a lightning bolt, spend 1 offering, you get +2 brain or +2 fist for this skill test. So they all have a way to replenish. They all have a way to, they all boost 2 stats, and they all commit for the symbols in which they boost for. These are very powerful cards that are going to be homed in a lot of decks going forward. However, while most of the masks are blanket very playable, the Cat Mask is probably the one that is most interesting to me, mostly because of the second stat that it gives. It's obviously that the Mystic card probably wants to give a brain boost, but that fist boost is really exciting. Where do I want to play this card? I want to play this card, so I've been theory crafting, and I want to play this card in a Dexter Drake deck. It makes sense. Dexter is actually, funnily enough, becoming one of the investigators that has been infecting me the most within the recent releases. And there's been a lot of decks that I've been looking at and being like, I kind of want to do something with Dexter Drake here. Dexter works really well with placing Doom on cards. For example, through Arcane Initiate, through Blood Pact 0, through Abyssal Tome 2, which you can see here, which is a really good way for you to replenish the Cat Mask. Of course, you could just do this with a standard thing as well as using the Brain Boost to, shoot magic spells and kill a lot of creatures and have a great time doing that. But I also at once built a Dexter Drake deck which used his Showmanship, his signature asset where when an asset comes into play, you get +2 on all skill tests on that asset until end of round. I could be wrong with that, that's just what I remember, but I built that with Cold Vest Pocket, and I would put it into play, shoot a bunch of times, used haste to get a bunch of actions, and then I would be super duper happy. I want to try that deck again with Abyssal Tome, Cat Mask, and just use it to go absolutely freaking nuts on an enemy. I just think that this would be a really fun deck to do, and it allows you to attack, especially if Showmanship's involved, you get to attack +6 with Cat Mask and the Cold Vest Pocket, so I think this would actually be a really fun time and a really fun deck to experiment with. And that's why Cat Mask is one of my 5 most hyped cards that I want to build for. Up next, we have none other than Cleaning Kit level 3. So, there's a level 0 and a level 3 card in this, and they're actually both very similar. And this is kind of also a blanket excitement for Cleaning Kit level 0. I think this is one of the coolest cards of the new cycle, and I'm excited to see what happens with it. So, this level version we have here is the level 3, 3 cost, 3 experience. They both take up the accessory slot, and they're both items and tools. They use 4 supplies. I believe the level 0 one has 3 supplies. And supplies on Cleaning Kit may be spent as if they were supplies or ammo on assets you control. As a reaction, when a supply is spent from Cleaning Kit exhausted, the performing investigator gets +2 skill value for this test. So this reaction ability is only on the level 3 version. It's not on level 0 version. Just to be aware, give some context for the card. But what am I excited about using this for? Well, obviously I want to shoot the shotgun. But that's not all. A lot of astute viewers out there, and also just people in the content, in the community as a whole, have noticed that this card actually works particularly well with Ornate Bow. Ornate Bow's biggest downside is that you have to fire it and then reload it in order to fire it again, which means that if you miss, or if there are more enemies than you can deal with at one time, Ornate Bow, actually, the downside becomes particularly noticeable. Cleaning Kit, however, actually just stops that downside. Woohoo! Which is actually kind of really cool. I actually think that's like a really nice little like quirky thing that you can do, especially the level 0 version. I've seen people theory craft it with Skids O'Toole, which I think actually seems like a really fun place to explore Cleaning Kit 0. Of course, on the other side, just below me, you can also see Old Shotgun 2 and just Shotgun. I think this is really nice. I especially like these ones because in the Guardian package, you can do the level 3 version, which means that, you know, you get more firepower out of these guns, which are limited ammo because they are so powerful. But you also get the boost to the skill test, which I think is really important because those cards care about how much you succeed by. I wager I'm going to start with an Ornate Bow build. I do want to try this Skids build that people are talking about, especially if you get like the wolf mask going. I think that there is a lot for Skids to really take advantage of here and really do a lot of cool stuff. Then I'm going to jump to one of the shotgun builds and have a good time doing that as well. And I think it's going to be a good time. I think it's going to be great. All right, let's go on to number 3, which is the Key of Solomon. So this was probably one of the spoilers that I was most just like, hey, this is actually kind of really cool. This is something that we can build around and do some fun stuff with. The Key of Solomon is a 2-cost, 4-experienced asset that takes up the hand slot. It's an item, tome, blessed, and cursed. As a lightning bolt, if there are more blessed than cursed tokens in the chaos bag, remove 1 blessed token from the chaos bag and exhaust the Key of Solomon. Heal up to 2 damage and or horror from an investigator or ally asset at your location. The ally is very interesting there. I think that this card is actually, while not like powerful, I think that there's some really cool builds that this can be like a really good piece of those builds. Like this is going to make it fly. The lightning bolt on the bottom one is that there are more cursed than blessed tokens in the chaos bag. Remove 1 cursed token from the chaos bag, exhaust the Key of Solomon, and gain 2 resources. What's not to love about that, right? Turn your downside into money. At the cost of a hand slot and 4 experience, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that yet. This is the hype video. We're not here to talk about if something is good or bad. We're here to talk about how freaking cool it's gonna be. And even though I now think Well Prepared's a bad card, look at all those icons! Look at all those icons! Holy cow. Alright. Let's talk about some things that I'm excited to do here. So, Carolyn Fern. Heal. This heals damage and or horror from an ally asset at your location. She is in the Guardian class, so she's more likely to hit the blessed stuff that Vincent Lee. I mean, I imagine he could, but this is the one that just jumped out to me. Doing stuff with like Field Agent can be a really fun time. Getting some horror on Field Agent, getting a clue, using this to heal, get some money. It's a really just like a really fun idea for a build. Carolyn Fern is a very powerful investigator who can do a lot of cool things. And I think the Key of Solomon is another cool build to add on to the already giant pile of cool builds that Carolyn Fern has available to her. Another one is Father Mateo. In the actual Paradoxical, like Kohaku, I think is going to obviously play a Key of Solomon very well. He's going to play Paradoxical really well. But I think that Father Mateo is also going to be able to do some cool things with this build. And also, generally, I don't care who. I'm just excited to play Key of Solomon with Promise Makes Power and turn my Promise of Power's downside into 2 resources in my pocket. And I think that seems pretty sweet. I think that seems pretty sweet. All right, let's keep this train moving with number 4, which is Survival Technique. This is, during the spoilers, this is the asset that I was like, this card actually I think is like a whole new archetype that we can explore. This was something that we saw touched on with Parallel Ashcan Pete. If you don't know what Parallel Investigators are, they're print-and-play investigators that kind of explore the mechanics of the game in different ways, doing reimagining of investigators that already exist. And the Parallel Ashcan Pete, his whole thing was that when a card attached to basically one of his cards attached to a treachery location enemy leaves play, it gets to go back into his hand once per round. And this is kind of expanding on that in a way that is more suitable to the power level of every investigator having the ability, which is a lightning bolt. Let me read the card. 2 cost, 2 experience, talent, science. As a lightning bolt, choose a card you own that is attached to your location and exhaust Survival Technique. Add that card to your hand. As a lightning bolt during a skill test on a location or on a treachery attached to your location, exhaust survival technique, you get +2 skill value for this test. So a few things to note about that second ability before we move on to the top ability, which is where this thing is going to truly shine. This is going to be stuff like locked doors, as an example, just like if there's a test on a location, like, test, there's one in, spoiler as free as possible, there's one in a scenario in Path to Carcosa, which you do a test, and if you succeed, you get to remove a doom from the agenda. This would be able to help with that. However, a basic investigate is actually a test on a location, because you're doing a basic investigate test on the location to get against the shroud value. This is something that I saw recently in a clarification ruling, but this is something that you could do. However, you cannot do it for abilities that allow you to investigate. So, for example, Seeking Answers is a card that allows you to investigate, but it's not a basic investigate, is only against a location. It's a little bit complicated, but it's how it is. It's how it be, at least as far as I'm aware at the time of recording this video. Let's talk about some places I'm excited to explore this in. Obviously, Kate Winthrop she can do science, and this is actually one of the, I think, notable science cards outside of the Seeker class. And I think that this is going to be a really cool thing that you can explore with Map the Area you can see in the corner. But I was cooking. And I want to build a Clue Flex Tommy Muldoon deck where you use Breach the Door on locations over and over and over again to have a really good time. It does reduce the location Shroud by 1 for each lead on Breach the Door, so it works well with things like Shed a Light, but it also works well with the new Myconid cards that came out in the Feast of the Hemlock Vale. So I think this is actually kind of like a really cool, kind of janky deck that you could do with this. But again, we're not here to talk about like what's most optimal. We're here to talk about fun. And this Tommy Muldoon survival technique deck seems like something that I really want to get cooking. Unless, of course, for some reason I misremembered that Tommy's deck building. But I'm pretty sure he's Guardian 05, Survivor 02, so I can do that here. All right. Let's go on to our last card for this video, and if you have been paying attention to the channel, this one should be no surprise, and that is the Rod of Carnamagos. This is a 2-cost, 2 experience, item, relic, occult, cursed asset that takes up the hand slot. As a lightning bolt, choose a non-elite enemy at any location and exhaust the Rod of Carnamagos to reveal 5 random chaos tokens from the chaos bag. For each curse token revealed, you may search your bonded cards for a Rot event and attach it to that enemy. And the Rot events all do a variety of different effects, and when that enemy leaves play, you get the card back into your pile of Rot events. It's basically, in the level 0 version, it's random, but in the level 2 version, you get to choose it. I actually played with this card just yesterday on stream, and it is just as fun, as exciting as it read. Do I think the card's good? I actually do think the card is pretty good. And I didn't even try to do any of the cheese stuff. I just played it in an Ursula deck, and we had a good time doing it. But I just think that this is such a cool card, and I think this is going to be a card that I'm going to enjoy exploring for a while. It is kind of limited in where you can run it, which I think is a good thing, because a lot of these Rot events, especially if you hit the right one, can be pretty powerful. So I actually think it's pretty good that it is limited mostly to curse decks, because you want to be able to hit the stuff to get there. Where am I want to play this? Well, I got some good news for you. Dexter Drake is back again. I think Dexter Drake is a phenomenal curse user. I think there's a lot of stuff that Dex can do. You also can honestly throw the Cat Mask into this deck as well, and we're going to have a great time. But see, Dex can use the Wicked of Thame really well because his fist value is actually pretty reasonable with 3. He can use Reestrad really well. Priest of Two-Faith is going to add curse tokens. There's Promise of Power, Faustian Bargain, a bunch of good stuff that Dexter can take advantage of. And he's a magician. He should be holding the Rod of Carnamagos like a wand. The Rot Wand is his specialty, and that's what he's going to want to be doing. I love this card. I think this is one of the coolest cards that we've seen in this game for a long time. Dare I say, if not ever. And I think it's such a cool design. And it's actually been really, in my limited experience playing with it, it's been super elegant and super easy to play with as well, which I think is kind of awesome. Especially because when you get to the upgraded version, you think that you're going to have a little bit of analysis paralysis for it, but you kind of actually know what rot event you want to attach to the enemy when that time comes. But I'm curious to explore this in other people. I just imagine I'm going to be playing Cursed decks for a very long time now as I explore and try this out a little bit more. And that is it! I want to thank everybody for watching this video. What are the cards you are most excited about in the Feast of Hemlock Vale? Let me go on my small spiel that I do at the end of each video where I say thanks for watching. If you want to support the channel, you can do so by liking, subscribing, commenting, or joining our Patreon. All of it is super helpful for helping our channel grow. If you like this content, please let me know by liking. Have a good one. As always, GG's.